Tanse. My name is Natasha Delany, and I am a business coach for women entrepreneurs. I offer one-to-one coaching services for women entrepreneurs. I also have a 6-month online program called Diamonds Mastermind for specifically for Indigenous women entrepreneurs. So right now I'm launching my second cohort. This current cohort has about 7 amazing Indigenous women from all across Canada. And I'm super lucky to be able to take these women through this amazingly powerful course. And so today I really wanted to talk to you guys about how to integrate your journey into your business. So how to integrate your Indigenous ancestry, like how does that fit into business? So being somebody who was raised in the foster care system, who was raised away from the culture, I felt so out of place. So when I joined, ceremonies and started to learn ceremonies about 6 years ago, I just felt so white. And so I always felt like I was gonna do the wrong thing. Like I felt like I was at any moment and at any time I was gonna do something that was gonna get me kicked out of the Indigenous ceremony circle, and that wasn't the case, thankfully. And it took me a while, but eventually I learned to talk or to listen more than talk. And I learned, I just learned. I just took the opportunity, was so grateful about the opportunity to just be able to learn. And so on this journey of me learning Indigenous ceremony and Indigenous understandings, and I do not know everything. I just don't. And I don't think anybody really can know everything, but there are different perspectives and understandings and ways of thinking that you just wouldn't be able to even grasp your head around if you're not learning and engulfed in the culture and the ceremonies and the teachings. And so as I was going along learning the culture, I was also learning from amazing thinkers like Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Abraham Hicks, so many amazing thinkers. I would listen to Audible after Audible on personal development, on money, on building a business. I also got my business degree and my MBA within a period of 6 years. So this was all happening, just a huge, period, a 6-year long period of me, or I guess 5-year period of me just learning, me just taking in information. And I found there was so many clashes in what I was learning in business, in Western university, in what I was learning from, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Bob Proctor, and from what I was learning in the ceremony. And I didn't want to be doing business, the wrong way. I didn't want to be building a business. My other business is called Indigenous Projects and Events, and we do event management, project management for Indigenous and non-Indigenous companies that specialize in Indigenous culture. And I did not want to be disrespectful as I was continuing to grow and build this business. And I wanted to be able to integrate, Indigenous practices, Indigenous culture, not just within the events, but also within the organization's corporate culture. And I didn't know how to do that. Additionally, for diamonds, the Diamonds brand for Indigenous women entrepreneurs, the program that I teach, it is very, very much based off of Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill's teachings. And I didn't want to not incorporate Indigenous aspects throughout the program because my audience were Indigenous women entrepreneurs. And so I spent a lot of time during the planning process of trying to figure out how I could incorporate these Indigenous ways of knowing, being, doing, and connecting. And throughout the process, I had also dealt with a lot of like imposter syndrome because my Indigenous identity has always been a struggle for me. It's always been somewhere, I never felt fully Indigenous. And I know that sounds super strange, but I always felt too white. And so this process of me learning and understanding and knowing that I don't know everything right now, but I do know quite a bit so far in my journey of returning home, essentially, to Indigenous cultures and learnings, that I still feel sometimes that I'm not, worthy of being there, that I'm not Indigenous enough. And it really did take me a long time to understand that in the world of business, in the world of capitalism, in the world of money, in Canada and then in the United States, we're not going backwards. We will not be going to ways of living off the land. We will not be going back to the non-monetary financial system unless there's a natural disaster, which the elders do say is coming. However, today it's not. And so how is it possible for us as Indigenous people who are learning Indigenous ways of being, is it possible for us to also be successful in business? Is it possible for us to lead in the business world? Is it possible when so many things clash with our ways? And so as I'm continuing to, ask for clarity from my higher power, from my creator, clarity is so important to continuously ask our higher powers for clarity. And so it came to me that no matter what, I am Indigenous. It doesn't matter that I was raised, away from the culture, raised by white people, raised in the system. What matters is that I did return and I am learning and I'm respectful. It's not my intentions, and this is the thing, it's not my intentions to harm anybody. And it's my intentions to also be knowledgeable and to ask the experts for confirmation before I take major actions within my businesses. And I do that. I present tobacco to my elder when I'm offering a specific service that I'm not sure about, or when I have a question about something or a relationship or whatever. It's important for me to present tobacco and to ask for the answer on whether or not I'm doing the right thing according to what the grandfathers are saying. And so the grandfathers are some people call them angels, some people call them helpers, guides. We call them grandfathers and grandmothers. And so I also understood that there's ways that even though they say it differently in terms of, what Bob Proctor says in Napoleon Hill and our ways, those two things do overlap. It's just said differently. So, for example, let me think. Healing. So, a lot of what's in my program is about healing. So, healing our minds, healing our bodies, healing our past traumas. Because those are the things that create limiting beliefs for us. So, if we were in trauma and if we had a traumatic experience in childhood, if that's neglect, if that's, abuse, and we started to believe that we were not smart or that we were not lovable, these beliefs become subconscious and they start to run the system of our behaviors and the actions that we take unconsciously. And so we start to take actions that align with that limiting belief. Like we will quit school, which is something that I would do. I quit school. I took my first year in business in my early 20s, and I had excuses for why I quit. I couldn't afford it, even though I get paid. It gets paid by my band, and it was just, I could afford it. But the real reason, looking back, is because I felt like I was not smart enough, and so I quit. And this limiting belief affected all of my major decisions like that. And so as I'm continuing to heal on this healing journey, identifying the limiting beliefs and then changing the story, changing the programming of that limiting belief into a new empowering story, which is I am smart, and looking back to these are the ways that show I'm smart. And I had to do that a lot as I challenged myself through university. I had to first of all finish what I started, and that was my commitment to myself. And through that process of crying and smudging and praying and asking for help because I didn't feel like I could finish a paper, I eventually got more and more confidence as I was completing these things, getting my marks back. And so that healing process, though, that place of changing the story of finding who I really am, these are our teachings as Indigenous people, to return to ourselves, to return to that place inside of ourselves and feel at home in here. And we can only do that by eliminating these limiting beliefs. So there's so many intertwined belief systems that are just worded differently. And so as soon as I figured that out, it became a lot easier for me to be able to teach the course and implement different, just shift in words that I was using, the verbiages that I was using. Additionally, for Indigenous projects and events, again, it was really, again, about me making that decision that no matter what, I am Indigenous and I am respectful of the culture. And, I do the things, I do the right things, which is continuing to be open to learning, continuing to be wrong, continuing to take accountability, and continuing to follow protocol. That's respect. And I saw on LinkedIn the other day this lady, I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure her business is quite successful. She posted this organizational chart, and it was in the shape of those floral, flowers. And so she had human resources, management, accounting, in the petals, and then the circle, or in the circle, there was these, directors or whatever. And then in the petals, there was the support staff or whatever. And I thought that was super, super cool. And I'm like, these are ways in which we can lead. We can lead in the business world. So for Indigenous project events, there's so many ways to accept, you know, colonized capitalist ways while also implementing Indigenous ways. So for example, like I will not accept certain clients. I don't just accept all clients. I've had to learn that the hard way, that, the company has to be reputable. I do not host events anymore with like non-for-profits, or there's no budget or anything. I need to be paid monthly, and I need to be confident of the company's standing and that they will pay me. So University of Calgary is one of our clients. And so some might say, well, that's not our ways. But that for me and my family and for the people that I'm serving, like the Indigenous communities, the vendors, the entertainers, like all of these people, they rely on me to make good financial decisions like that. And so the other thing is going the other direction. I have one of the ladies that is working part-time for me for Indigenous project events. She's in university. She's in her third year. I can't remember which nation she's from, but she's actually one of my ceremony sisters. And she has a little girl, just celebrated her 1-year birthday. So she works from home. We all work from home. And so sometimes she'll show up to the meetings because she takes some minutes with her little baby. And very niche, very, very Indigenous. And I let my clients know, like, this is just the way it is. Like, this woman is amazing. She's doing amazing. She's getting her education full time while working for me part time. And this is just something that you're going to have to put up with. This is what you're going to have to put up with while you're working with an Indigenous business. Because for me, providing opportunities to Indigenous people who deserve it are just number one priority for me. And this Calgary, they're like, that's awesome. We love that. And really being able to stick to these principles and to the culture and to like our relational ways, how we pray before every single event planning meeting. We smudge. Every single meeting, every single Diamonds Mastermind lesson and Monday Raise Your Vibration sessions, we pray, we smudge. This is just how we do business. And it's the new way to do business. And it's the new way to lead in business. The Indigenous business economy is $1 billion economy. And I want to be part of that. And I know you do too. So anyways, if you liked this episode today, please hit like, please subscribe. I will be talking about all things business, all things mindset, all things pain to purpose, all things, universal laws, Indigenous business, Indigenous leadership. I'm super excited to continue this conversation with you, and we will see you in the next episode.